Wherever you are watching us from, a good afternoon to you and welcome to Good Afternoon Ghana with me, Bright. Nanakwesi. I'm in live studios here at Region Accra, the Queer Boy Mass Studio. We are live and active on Facebook at Metro TV Ghana. Same on YouTube at Metro TV Ghana, on Twitter and on Instagram at Metro TV GH. Thank you so much for joining us here this afternoon. So the MPP has gone for the elections. They've elected Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as the next face of the party, representing the party as they go into the general elections next year, 2024. He is now the subscribed and agreed on presidential candidate for the New Patriotic Party, the NPP, who will become his running mate. We are discussing here who exactly stands the chance of becoming his running mate this afternoon on Good Afternoon Ghana. I'll tell you who our survey has landed on, the people we are looking at after this quick turn. But for now, let's go for a quick break. When we come back, Good Afternoon Ghana will begin. Stay with us. Welcome back. We're still live here on Good Afternoon Ghana. Let me tell you who my guest on the show this afternoon are. Dr. Jonathan Asantiocho is a political analyst and a senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. He will join us via Zoom. And also Professor Kobe Mensah is a political marketing strategist, will also be on Zoom. And on Zoom again is Professor Samuel Edu Jenifi, professor in the field of history and political studies at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. But I know that Professor Kobe Mensah has already joined us on Zoom. Before we go to him, let me bring you a breather of who exactly we are talking about today. The persons our survey predict they might be the persons. One of them might be who Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia or the MPP might choose to be the running mate of the current Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Let's begin with Osei Che Mensah Bonsu. And I'm going to see a quick brief of him on your screen. Osei Che Mensah Bonsu. He is a long-standing MP for Swami constituency in the Ashanti region. He's a seasoned politician and the current majority leader in Parliament. He doubles as Minister for Government Business. And so if you're wondering who Osei Che Mensah Bonsu is, there you have it on your screen. I read again, a long-standing MP for Swami constituency in the Ashanti region. He's a seasoned politician and the current majority leader in Parliament. He doubles as Minister for Government Business. And the next person this afternoon is Akosua Frema Osei Opare. And if you are asking who she is, there she's a picture alongside who she is really. She's a current Chief of Staff at the Presidency, a development consultant, a labor and employment expert. She was a two-term member of Parliament for the Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency, the famous Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency. She was a two-term member of Parliament for that area, and currently the current Chief of Staff at the Presidency, Akosua Frema Osei Opare, and she is number two on our list. So Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, let me say congratulations to him. We've seen pictures of him circulating on social media. Yes. Getting married. We say big congratulations to him. But yeah, he is a Ghanaian medical doctor and politician. He is a member of Parliament for Menchia South constituency in the Ashanti region. He's a former Minister for Education and currently the Minister for Energy. And Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh is number 3 on our list. And I'll say again, a big congratulations to him. Not in the picture, yeah, he's married. And people are saying it's all part of the bid to be named the vice, to be given the running mate of Ghana's vice president. That's, we're going to next year's elections. Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, and he's number 3 on our list. And Joseph Osei Owusu comes in at number 4 on our list. He comes in at number 4 on our list. And there he goes, and there he is, a Ghanaian lawyer and politician, member of Parliament for Bekwai constituency. He's the first Deputy Speaker of the 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic. Joseph Osei Owusu is a Ghanaian lawyer and a politician. He is the first Deputy Speaker of the 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic, as is stated earlier. And he comes in at number 4. Joseph Osei Owusu. This one is quite interesting. The next one, number 5, is quite interesting. Apostle Opokunyina. He comes in at number 5. Very, very, very interesting. I know you might be asking. I know I can see. I can hear from your house, from your homes, your houses, wherever you're watching it from, saying, okay, right, okay. So he is the immediate past chair of the Church of Pentecost, a Ghanaian theologian, a televangelist, a composer, and the 5th chair of the Church of Pentecost from 2008 to 2018. He founded the Pentecost International Worship Center, a ministry of the Church of Pentecost, in 1993. Apostle Opokunyina comes in at number 5, together with others who we think might be the choice for the MPP or Dr. Bawumia going into next year's election as the running mates. Interesting. The 6th person here is Isaac Osei. Isaac Osei comes in at number 6. Isaac Osei comes in at number 6. He is the former MP for Subi constituency, a former managing director of the Tema Oil Refinery, TOR, as it's popularly known, and current board chair of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, GPHA. Isaac Osei is the former MP for Subi constituency, a former managing director of the Tema Oil Refinery, TOR, and the current board chair of Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, GPHA. He comes in at number 6. And the final number here, number 7, the final one here, is Dr. Yao Osei Edichum. Did you see that coming? He comes in at number 4, the current education minister, Dr. Yao Osei Edichum. He is a Ghanaian politician, a member of parliament of the 7th Parliament of the 4th Republic of Ghana, representing the Bosomtwe constituency in, he is the Minister of Education, as I stated earlier, Dr. Yao Osei Edichum. I like this man. I like him a lot. He has some very brilliant ideas for the education ministry and Ghana's education sector. But for now, let's go on the Zoom. Like I told you earlier, my guests are 3, prominent guests I have here this afternoon. But the first person who has joined us on Zoom is Professor Kobe Mensah, political marketing strategist. Good afternoon, sir, and welcome to Good Afternoon, Ghana.
Thank you, and good afternoon. Good to see you.
Great to have you join us here this afternoon. Tell me about your reaction to these names before we even take them individually. How do you react to these names? Who interests you the most?
Well, I don't think I have a preference. I only would take a keen interest in analyzing the kind of characteristics or the attributes that they bring to the ticket. But certainly, I don't have a preference. Right. I would leave the preference to the viewers and Ghanaians when we had done the analysis of what actually the attributes for choosing a running mate is.
Right, so tell me how you react to these names. Let's begin with the first gentleman on the list, Osei Mensah. I mean, his locus, is he qualified for this position?
Well, as I said, the choices are actually left to the candidate, of course, and to the political followers of the NPP. I think that every name, all the names that you've mentioned here, they are qualified. Obviously, they are politicians. They are staunch NPP, members, and that is the base qualification. Obviously, the apostle is perhaps an intriguing one. Right. I'm not sure on what basis, he is actually in the list, because when it comes to the selection of a vice presidential candidate, you would say that the base qualification is that the person actually aligns with the ideology of the political party. And so I'm not sure on what basis is the apostle there, but apart from that, the rest of them are actually qualified.
Now, what makes a good vice president or running mate? What makes one a good running mate for candidates?
Well, when you're actually considering a running mate for a political party or what do you call a candidate there are quite a number of attributes that you're looking at. Firstly, you are looking at the person's competencies. Obviously, that includes their what we call professional discipline. You're looking at their track record, what they have done in the past.
Mm.
Obviously, because you need experiences. You're also looking at their ideological positions.
Right.
What are their views in terms of issues? In terms of their perspective of analyzing the problems, analyzing solutions, and you want to make sure that it aligns with the party's position, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you're looking at their constituencies, because you're looking at someone who's actually bringing in the vote. So, which constituency is that individual actually connected to? And when I say constituency, I don't mean the formalized parliamentary, what do you call delineated constituencies, but the kind
Right.
of people, voters or demographies that individual, person
Mm.
could actually connect to and bring you the vote. And that's what you're looking at. Sometimes you're looking at people who also connect to key stakeholders. So it might not be a huge chunk of, voters, but for example, you have in fact, when you talk about foreign policy, for example, you want to look at somebody who is actually well connected within the diplomatic corps, someone who had perhaps worked with some of the developmental partners, multilateral partners, for example, that would have a certain leverage on them. So if you take the American, module, for example, when they're looking for a foreign policy, I mean, we're looking for a vice candidate, the person's foreign policy credentials also come in. And
Mm.
so, yes, these are some of the attributes that you're looking at, especially when you have zeroed in or analyzed the attributes of the presidential candidate and you have identified certain gaps or certain weaknesses, and then you're thinking that the vice candidate must come to complement it. Now, when you are actually doing these assessments, if you take the commercial, brands, for example, no brand actually goes into a co-branding arrangement with another brand without thinking that that brand comes in with some strength to complement their strength. We call it bundling. So when you're bundling product or brands, you do a whole scoping of your brand and then the co-branding partner to make sure that they're coming to complement that. There is something called the pathways. So you're looking at what is the path width of that particular brand to complement your path width. And so once these things are actually established, then of course you can arrive at a suitable candidate. Another thing is that you want to find a candidate that you can work with. Obviously, after doing all those analysis that I've told you about, track record or discipline area or constituency that they can connect. Another crucial point is whether you can work with that individual. Because don't forget, these are the two tickets. They should be seen most of the time together. They will be in cabinet together, etc. And so it has to be somebody that you're comfortable with, you can work with. Otherwise, all those things would attribute to nothing or will contribute to nothing. So that is a very crucial factor in the consideration as well.
You mentioned that it's quite interesting to find Apostle Opoku on the list. I want us to stay on him for a while. Interestingly, the Church of Pentecost membership here in Ghana forms about 10% of the entire population of people here in Ghana. As we speak right now, it says as of May 5, 2023, the population of people who are in the Church of Pentecost are up to 4.2 million worldwide. Here in Ghana alone, it's 3,597,955, which is about 10% of Ghana's population. What exactly, these numbers, what impact could it have on the next elections if he's chosen as the running mate for MPP's candidate?
It could be political expediency, but it would be the wrong thing to do for the country. Don't
Right.
forget, this country is a secular country. We have so many, even within the Christian faith, so many different denominations. I do not want to think that someone is actually strategizing that the country goes into a certain realm of religiosity, for example. That's absolutely not acceptable for the country. And so I find it very intriguing to find that it could be also that they just want to use that to pander the Pentecost people, obviously, in the end, he might not be chosen, but they probably might have, sort of signaled that they are in the
Mentally,
good books.
right.
Yeah, they might have signaled that they're in the good books and they are very close to the presidency, and therefore the membership will follow suit to vote for whichever ticket. And so it could be a ploy to sort of get the people excited about it. And even if he's not chosen, it could signal that he's closer to the office of the
Of the
president or to
president.
the power bases. As a result, lure the votes of the Pentecost people. But to critically, sort of uh, think that he could be potentially a vice presidential candidate, absolutely the wrong thing to do for this country. But politically expedient, I agree. But it's a very, very terrible thing to do for the country. I wouldn't subscribe it.
Would that not be a capture of both Christianity and the Muslim community? Because we know Dr. Bawumia is coming from the Muslim community and also Opoku from the Christian fraternity.
I beg to differ. I don't think that Bawumia is a Muslim head. He's a politician. He's a what do you call? Obviously, he's a, you can say he's a banker, or no, not a banker, but he's a finance person or economic person. He's
Right.
not head of a religious, what do you call, a group, and that's the difference. He represents. I mean, his faith is a Muslim faith, but
Right.
he does not actually speak for the people of the Muslim community. That man is completely in the head of a certain religious group. We cannot get the country to descend into that path. We don't want that kind of religiosity in this country.
Now, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, let's talk about him from the Ashanti region, a combination. How would it be like if he's chosen to be the running mate for Dr. Bawumia?
Well, as I said, apart from the Reverend Minister, all of them actually qualify.
Right.
Napo has amazing experience within the political system. He had been a true and true MPP person. Certainly, if he's chosen, he has a lot of clout within the Ashanti region. He had a lot of clout within the powers of, so this country. I mean, obviously, he's a royal, and so he would have a lot of positives to bring to the ticket. But of course, there could be downside as well. I'm not sure that you would argue that Napo is your very much of a people person. And so there could be a certain work to be done about that. And then, of course, don't forget the issue of, having someone that you can really work together. And Napo has a very strong personality. You would actually ask whether is someone that perhaps the vice president can really work with. Perhaps yes, because they've been in the same party. They've worked, I'm sure, on a number of times together. But don't forget, Napo has a very strong personality, and so if he's settling on Napo, I'm sure that there had been a certain conversations, a certain reworking, etc., to ensure that they complement each other perfectly well. But certainly, Napo has a lot of positives to bring to the ticket.
Right. Prof, kindly hold your horses for me. I'll come back to you in a few minutes. But I've also been joined by Dr. Jonathan Asantiotre, a political analyst and senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. Good afternoon, and welcome to Good Afternoon, Ghana. Right. And also Professor Samuel Edu Jemfi is professor in the field of history and political studies at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Good afternoon, sir, and welcome to Good Afternoon, Ghana.
Good afternoon.
Great, Prof. Now,
I think my mic was. Yeah, this is Jonathan.
Yes. I believe you've been following the discussion here this afternoon. I mean, some names that have come up to compete for the running mate position for the MPP. We have Osai Chairman Sambonsu, Akosia Frema Osai Opare. We have Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, Joseph Osai Owusu, Apostle Opoku Nyina, Isaac Osai, and also Dr. Yao Osai Educhum. Give me your initial reactions to all these names.
Well, let me say good afternoon to our viewers.
Right.
First and foremost. And, my initial thing that they are all solid politically. With respect to MPP politics, they are equally out there. And probably we may have to look at situations where, we'll be looking at their deficiencies, their strengths, their weaknesses, of course, what they are likely to bring for the flag bearer.
I'm actually struggling to hear you, Jonathan. If you can kindly put yourself well and let's talk, I'll be grateful. I'm struggling to hear from the studios.
Really. Is it better now?
Yes, kindly adjust now. Come
Is
back
it
to
better?
It's better now. It's better now. So I was asking for initial reactions. I mean, all the names. I heard you say that they all qualify. But then, to you, what makes somebody a good running mate for a candidate?
Of course, certainly, the flag bearer will have to consider the fact that what his deficiencies as a flag bearer, and then what obviously the what's called vice presidential candidate will bring on board to top up and to show up where he falls short. And so, if he's looking at the strength of that particular candidate to show up his candidature, then he's supposed to look at the strengths as well. And what are these strengths? Resourcefulness is very, very important.
Right.
So affability is very essential. Temperament is equally important. Of course, when you come to our part, of the world in terms of our democracy and politics, tribal affiliation takes some kind of time. It takes some bits of the process in terms of choosing. It appears religion too is rearing its ugly head, I will call it, within the equation. But of course, you need to have someone who politically is untainted. It is very, very important in terms of issues of corruption, in terms of how, welfareism, how he's been able to contribute to the welfare, of the members of the party from the grassroots and so on and so forth. So, I mean, the factors are too many.
Are there any names that you were expecting that you didn't hear from us?
Well, for now, I can't tell. I don't think that I have been. It is just that what intrigues me is the fact that it appears the leading names are all Ashantis. I'm trying to be corrected. It appears the leading names are all Ashantis, and it makes it appear as though the one who is supposed to, partner the Bawumia should by default be an Ashanti, and that is quite intriguing. Because for me, it makes the others, you see, from other regions, feel alienated. We should be expecting some names from the West, from Ghana, from Central, because yes, of course, for political expediency, now that you have taken, someone who is a non-Akan,
right,
a Muslim for that matter, not a Christian, a Muslim for that matter, it means that, see, these two factors virtually appear as deficiencies of the flag bearer. Muslim, why? Because this is a Christian-dominated country. Not from a minority tribe, so to speak. And so you have a lot of work. And so if you see the Ashanti list topping all, then it means that they may want to balance the force that they themselves have created. So to neutralize that, we will want to pacify the strongest of the support base of the party by wanting to pick an Asante as the vice presidential candidate, to Dr. Bawumia, so to speak. But other than that, I've also and I've come to view that if you say that the MPP is Dombo down Pabusia, and you are looking at Dombo, let's just say that the whole of the northern enclave is Dombo. Now, that of the Buzia will probably take care of the Bono, the Hafos, the Bono East, and then the entire of the Ashanti region, the entirety of the Ashanti region. Then if you talk of the Dankwa, we know the Achim and its enclave there. So the question that, bothers me is that now, if this is the tradition of the party, which I have said and argued that it is merely theoretical and does not exist, because it's like politicians pick and choose when it suits them, then it means that if you are a Westerner, either Western or Western North, what are your chances of becoming a presidential candidate of here? If you are from Central Region, what are your chances? If you are from Greater Accra, what are your chances? So the question is, why should I be a member of the MPP when in the near too distant future, I stand no chance, whether my generation or generation unborn, we stand no chance, of anyone emerging from these regions that I've mentioned. I did not even mention voter region and OT as well. That what are chances, of emerging as a flag bearer as far as the MPP is concerned. So all these, regions, they feel eliminated. They feel eliminated. And for me, they will have to work on that. And that they are going to have, a backlash of votes when it comes to regions that I have, mentioned. But if all the list you have mentioned, I think that if you are to look into the nitty-gritty of what they bring on board, we may have, their shortfalls and their strengths as well. If you ask me about Dr. Napoleon, as his family called, I think he has a problem with his temper. I think that he appears to me as someone who looks down on people. And I think probably MPs and others will confirm or attest to this. That is how I see him, because he is fond of making some kind of inflammatory statement that are very unpresidential. Now, you can talk of the education minister, yes, very affable, but I think that I was one of those who advocated that when Dr. Napo was even the Minister of Education, I did not see the reason why Napo should be the Assistant Minister, and he came as. So in the second distance, I was happy when he was given the Education Minister. But that place, if you look at education now, people think that he's working, but I think that the education sector is now in a big mess. We are seriously in a big mess, from the lower level to the middle level, in a big mess. And I think that if you focus entirely on STEM or whatever, I think that you will be misleading the entire country. Today, we don't even know when somebody is stopping, when it's the person, when they vacate, when they are coming back. The system has virtually disrupted that academic, calendar. Today, Legon has reopened. We are waiting for the first years to come. UCC is about to follow the same pattern. It's not to be the case. How did we arrive here? Certainly, we will have to ask the education minister to provide answers. But then, if you look at Tremor Parry, of course, having been an MP before, now her choice will only be because MPP is probably foreseeing a situation where the NDC will pick a woman as their vice presidential candidate. If that is the case, then it's going to be a mix of women, and then the two of them will have to start it out. So then it means that we are likely going to have vice president as a woman. The majority leader, its long experience in politics is unrivaled as far as NDC representatives.
Jonathan, I'm losing you again. Your line is breaking. I'm losing you again. Your line is breaking. Kindly push yourself. I'll come back to you again. But I know that I've also been joined on Zoom by Samuel, Professor Samuel Edu Jimfi. He is a professor in the field of history and political studies at NAST. Prof, if you are there, you just heard Mr. Jonathan say that he's quite worried the fact that almost a huge number of the supposed names for the running mates for the MPP are all coming from the Ashanti region. And at least there's one lady on there, but even that, he believes that is because the MPP, the NDC, might again go for Nana Pokwajman, who is a woman, and so that will be a battle between women and the running mate position. Where do you stand on this? Prof. Professor Samuel Edujimfi, are you there, please? Right. Network. we try and get him back on the line. But let me come back to you, Jonathan. If your line is clear now, you were speaking about the fact that the MPP or Dr. Bawumia might choose Akosua Parry because of what might happen with the NDC, because it might end up going with their former or their before running mate, who is Nano Poku Ajiman. Continue from there for me, please. I lost you at a point.
Yeah, so the point I was making is that if we are talking of Femo Parry, Madame Femo Parry, as a potential, vice presidential candidate, then probably it is because of the NDC, the MPP anticipating that the NDC may take or may maintain the good professor, as the vice president candidate. So I was on the majority leader. So with the majority leader, what he brings on board is vast experience from parliament, which I said that it is quite unrivaled as far as the MPP, fraternity is concerned. And he's been able to navigate through some torturous, situations, and the MPP, has come out unscathed. So if they are rewarding him for that, that wouldn't be a bad idea. But as it stands now, I think in terms of his popularity as an MP at where he is, if he is to contest, he will lose. If he is to contest, he will lose. So if that is the case, then it means that his home of origin could be a problem, for the flag bearer. And I think that if you are choosing such a person, then that will come off as a problem. Mike, Joe Wise intends not to contest again as an MP,
Right.
and for that reason, he could, come out as one of the leading contenders for that particular position. The only thing that I find worrying about him is a statement that he made in connection with the Techiman South extrajudicial killings that took place during the 2020 elections.
Right.
I think that the comment that he made, I have always considered him as a presidential material. But ever since he made such an unguarded statement, as if those who were killed are non-humans, my respect for him, I don't know how to put it. I lost interest, and that's it. That is how. But other than that, apart from some skirmishes that he put up in Parliament, which for me was a display of immorality in terms of, but of course he was serving his party in terms of this quorum and other issues as to when the budget was rejected and the means that they used to get the budget approved and other things. And for today, the same thing that has been sent to the Supreme Court on e-levy, how it was approved, it has still become a problem. The Supreme Court is yet to rule on that. Now,
Right.
if who else is left?
So we have Osei Mesa Bonsu, Akosua Parry. We have Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempe, Napo, Joyce, Joseph Osei Wusu, Apostle Opoku Yina, formerly of as former chair of the Church of Pentecost. And also Isaac Osei, Dr. Yao Osei.
This is the only person I've not commented on. Okay, so with the Professor Opoku Onyina,
yes.
I don't know how his name was mentioned. Is he telling us that all this while, occupying the position at the top echelon of the Pentecost Church, he was doing politics, partisan politics?
But do you have to be a member of a party before you are selected to be a running mate? Is that a core mandate?
Oh, certainly. Certainly, you should have been contributing hugely to the progress of the party, one way or the other, in terms of resources, money, justice, and all those things. All these things take, precedence when it comes to that particular decision. But of course, I don't think that unless for political expediency, you must.
Right, I've lost Jonathan again. Quite a sad one. Network is not being good to us. Let me see if Professor Kobe Mensah is still with us on Zoom. Prof, I just asked Dr. Jonathan Asante about the fact that before one is selected or chosen as a running mate of a candidate, must he or she be a core member of a political party? I mean, from the marketing aspect of things, when it comes to politics, should that be a particular criteria? Should I be a member of a party before I'm selected or nominated to be a running mate of a party?
Well, for so many reasons, the top ticket usually must be someone who, in one way or the other, either is a member or affiliates with that particular political party for so many reasons. One of them, crucially, is that you would be making political decisions. Some of these political decisions may not necessarily be, the interest of the many, but it has to be made. Now, when it happens like that, you would realize that the political calculation comes in terms of ideological positions, in terms of parties' own traditions, etc. So ideally, usually the tickets are reserved for people who are partisan. But of course, there are times where, candidates, especially, vice candidates, had actually come from a background where they may not have a long-standing history of partisanship. But of course, they probably might have some kind of relationship with a political party. So whereas, you might not be very, very partisan, there must be some sort of relationship, with the political party. So yes, I would think that he has something to do with the political party. That's why his name is actually come up.
All right. We'll come back to you in a few seconds. We'll go for a very quick turn again. That's our second break. When we come back, we'll be taking our last words on this issue here on Good Afternoon Ghana. I'll be wrapping up for now. A quick turn. Welcome back, and we have less than 2 minutes to wrap up on the show here this afternoon because up next is Intimate Review. But before we do that, I'm still joined by Dr. Jonathan Asante, political analyst and senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, and also Professor Kobe Mensah, political marketing strategist, and also Professor Samuel Edu-Jimfi, who is here to speak to us due to some issues of network. He's also with us on Zoom as well. But gentlemen, let me take your last remarks before we wrap up. This might be an intriguing question for you to answer, but I want to hear you all tell me what you expect. By the close of the day, or when the names are mentioned, who do you want to hear, or which name would you want to hear mentioned by the party or Dr. Bawumia? Let me begin with you, Jonathan.
Yeah, can you ask the question again?
Right. I'm asking, we are wrapping up, but before we go, a quick one. Until the name is mentioned, or on the day where the name will be mentioned as to who will become the running mate for Dr. Bawumia going to next elections, which name would you want to hear him mention, or the party mention?
Well, I think that particular decision is out of my hands. I don't know.
It really is, but from you as a political analyst and a senior lecturer, I mean, who do you think will
I think
work
that
most?
They will have to pick someone.
Yes.
They will have to, Dr. Bawumia will have to pick someone that he thinks he can really work with. Should he get the opportunity of becoming the president? If in terms of experience, and I don't know, but I don't want to hazard a guess for now.
Give me a name, please. I need a name from you, please.
Because if not the fact that, you see, I didn't even talk about Isaac Osei, right?
Yes.
I mean,
a quick one, please.
I don't know his political activities now. Ever since he left that position as a boss tour but he's now at Port. I don't know his activeness in terms of the party, I don't know. But other than that, he's a fine gentleman. Isaac Joe Wise also comes to me as a fine gentleman, but
Right.
I have just been taken aback, as I said, by that particular distance.
Right.
Because the rest, I think they have their own.
So am
the
I
only
to
thing that
take
Bawumia will
Isaac
have
Osei
to
for you
think
because,
about it,
like you mentioned,
which
Joe Wise has an
one-
issue.
certainly, as far as I am concerned, but
Right.
I wouldn't mind the majority leader as well. I think sometimes
Right.
he's very frank, and sometimes he even gets the ox of the party faithful God because of his frankness to certain issues, and I think that he wouldn't also be a bad candidate. But by
Thank
and
you.
large, Dr. Bawumia will have to decide which one, if he's to lose, which one will he minimize the loss, and which one will bring on board quite some kind of en bloc voting, as far as his ticketing is concerned.
Right, and that is the other side of the grass. Thank you so much, Jonathan. We come back to you later. But then, Prof, I know you asked with that. The same question I asked Jonathan. If we had the opportunity to choose one person or advise the vice president to choose or the MPP to choose any of these names, Jonathan is giving me about 4 names: Joseph Osei Owusu, Isaac Osei, and also. Let me try and get the other one. And also, Osei Chime Sambosu. Which of these names are you going to choose?
Whenever a brand is thinking about product bundling, or when you're thinking about co-branding,
right,
you look at the brand's assets. We'll call it brand equity.
Great.
You look at the brand's equity, and you identify the positive and negative equities, and then you plug in a co-brand to be able to build up or to actually make up for the limitations of the main brand.
Right.
They have to analyze and look at Bawumia's limitations. Right now, as we speak, Bawumia has a very serious issue with believability. The trust is not there. Nobody can convince me that when you do the brand equity of Bawumia, you would find Ghanaians trusting of that brand. That is one of the limitations. Obviously, as a person, it's a fantastic individual, very lovable, but in terms of trust, he's lost it. So you want to choose a candidate that could actually plug in that particular limitation.
And which of these names?
I couldn't have your name, I'm sorry. So I would have to disappoint you on that. But they need to do the assessment.
Right, Prof,
and
thank
then
you so
decide
much.
on who they can plug in.
Thank you so much. Prof speaks of brand equity when you're thinking of co-branding for the main brand, which is quite intriguing. You have to look at the weakness of the main brand to match it up with the co-brand. An interesting one. Thank you so much, Prof. Prof is political marketing strategist, Professor Kobe Mensah. Thank you so much. You are grateful. And also Dr. Jonathan Asante is political analyst and a senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. And we were unable to be joined by Professor Samuel Edu Jemfi, I believe, because of network and technology. Professor is a professor in field of history and political studies at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us here this afternoon on Good Afternoon, Ghana. I am Bryce Nana Kwesi Aminin. Good afternoon.